Body without organs. The body without organs is literally the body that doesn't have any organ. Arthur's word, which Deleuze often quotes as the reference for this concept, expresses this point vividly. No mouth, no tongue, no teeth, no larynx, no esophagus, no stomach, no intestine, no anus. I shall reconstruct the man that I am. The word body without organs appears for the first time in the Logic of Sense with this Arthur's sentence. Anti-Oedipus makes even clearer what this sentence aims at by quoting Arthur's other writing. The body is the body. It is all by itself and has no need of organs. The body is never an organism. Organisms are the enemies of the body. The body that has organism as enemy, that is the body without organs. As you know, our bodies are organisms into which digestive organs and locomotive organs, etc., are united as one. Do you think there really exists such bodies as body without organs or body whose enemy is an organism? Of course, things like stone, soil, water, and jaws have bodies without any organs, but such things are not what Arthur means to say. It should be a concept that presupposes organisms because its enemies are organisms. Which of the organisms doesn't have organs? That's right, it's the egg, or the fertilized egg, the body that doesn't have any differentiated organ yet. The organism that is the matter or matrix of all the future organs is the egg. Therefore, it is said the body without organs is the egg. Deleuze-Guattari also put a picture of an egg of the Dogon tribe of Africa at the opening of the 6th Plato of 1,000 Platos, which deal with the body without organs. The fertilized egg is a body without organs, in that it is a body before it is differentiated into organs, folds being created on the surface of the fertilized egg. Each part is differentiated into organs as recorded in the gene. Of course, it is differentiated in a variety of modalities, depending on the conditions of genesis, depending on the external conditions, such amniotic fluid or mother's physical condition, and the intensity of the encounter with those conditions. The creation of folds and the modality of differentiations vary. As such, the reason it can be differentiated differently is that the gene has the determinability open to various actualities. Therefore, the fertilized egg means the virtuality in contrast with the body as a result of differentiation. It can be differentiated in different paths, and so become different bodies because of its virtuality. Arthur's word, I shall reconstruct the man that I am, explicitly shows what is intended to be done with the body without organs. It is to reconstruct the body, different from the actual body. But you may ask back, how can one make a different body? By undoing the body, which has already been differentiated into an organ? Right. It is very difficult. Therefore, one believes that one can't help but accept the life with the given body, that is, the current state of the body as an organism, which is the result of differentiation, as if it's a fate ordained by God and as if it's the judgment of God. That's why Deleuze-Guattari say Arthur's statement is a declaration of war to be done with the judgment of God. It is to fight against the judgment that one should accept the organic unity of the body and against the fate as an organ given to each part of the body. Therefore, in this war, the enemy is not the organ, but the organism. We come to the gradual realization that the body without organism is not at all the opposite of organs. The enemy is the organism. To create the body without organs is to reconstruct the body which has already become the fixed organ of an organism into a different body by returning it back into the virtuality. However, this reconstruction is not just like changing the entire body shape into something very different like plastic surgery or transformation robot of Transformers. For example, converting the mouth that operates as an eating machine by connecting to the esophagus and interrupting and drawing off the flow of nutrients into the speaking machine that operates by connecting to the vocal cords and interrupting and drawing off the flow of sound is also one of these reconstructions. The same goes for walking on arms and converting arms into weapons like swords. In order for the mouth or arm to change from the state of the current machine to another, it should deviate from the state of the current machine and it needs to connect to a certain condition that enables it to operate as a different machine. To do that, it must go through the body state in which it is not any organ but can become another organ, the body state, where it is a mouth as it is, but no longer as eating machine, also can become a speaking machine, a kissing machine, etc. This can be said in a slightly different way. For an arm to be converted into a sword, the intensity of the force distributed in the arm muscles must be changed. To divide this process into two stages, the first thing to be done is resetting the distribution of the intensity of the current arm or mouse to zero. The next will be to move the arm or mouse by making a different distribution of the intensity. All the conversion for the different uses of the body are to approach the state of intensity zero state and then make a new distribution of intensity. All conversions from one action to another, for example, from writing to using chopsticks and then to playing piano, in fact, pass through these two stages of conversion. The same is true of all becomings, such as the becoming animal, which means converting one's body into an animal-like body. Deleuze-Guattari say the state of intensity zero precisely corresponds to the body without organs. Creating the body without organs does not mean regressing to the organless state, that is, egg-like state, but going through the state of intensity zero to change the state of the actual body. The body without organs is opposed not only to the organism but also to the desiring machine. The desire to eat produces our bodies as eating machines, and the desire to play ping pong produces them as ping pong machines. No matter how good eating and playing ping pong are, one will get in trouble if one does only those things. Even before a desire to do something else rises, one might say, I want to stop doing this now. Desiring machines make us an organism, but at the very heart of this production, within the very production of this production, the body suffers from being organized in this way, from not having some other sort of organization, or no organization at all. Therefore, in opposition to the desire to produce the actual state of the body, the desire to stop that production is triggered. The automata stop that and set free the unorganized mass they once served to articulate. For this reason, Deleuze-Guattari say the body without organs is anti-production, on the opposite side of the production of the desiring machine. The full body without organs is the unproductive, the sterile, the unendangered, and unconsumable. Being produced is coming into being of something. Anti-production as the cessation of production, therefore, can be said to correspond to death. That the mouth stops being the eating machine may well be said to be the death of the eating machine. This kind of death is linked to Blanche's impersonal death. Impersonal death is not the biological and personal death, but an event in which, for example, when a poem comes to a poet, someone inside the poet dies. Someone who has been called I dies after all, and a poem is written by moving the body emptied and deterritorialized by that death. Impersonal death is the process of returning back to the state of the body without organs. It can be said that someone corresponding to the poem that came to the poet is born in the body of intensity zero. As Arthur said, it can be said, it reconstructs the man who I am. In this regard, it is a death neither present nor past, but always coming, as the source of an incessant multiple adventure. The impersonal death comes upon the poet without the desire for death. It's a passive death. The death of the desiring machine is usually the case. the conversion of the eating machine into the speaking machine or sex machine is not owing to the desire for killing the eating machine, but a certain condition that occurred in or near the body. Conditions that make you want to speak, conditions that drive sexual desire, etc. Of course, there are times when you want to say enough. However, the concept of death or body without organs also changes as Deleuze's thought on the death instinct changes. Although he doesn't accept Freud's concept as it is, he actually accepts and uses the concept itself in difference and repetition. On the other hand, this concept disappears and is not seen in 1,000 places. In Anti-Oedipus, in between the two, conflicting descriptions are seen. For this reason, the body without organs can be easily misunderstood as corresponding to the death instinct. Referring to Arthur's discovery at the opening of this book, he writes, "The death instinct, that is its name, and death is not without a model, for desire desires death also." However, this is explicitly reversed in the latter part of the same book. Death is not desired. There is no death instinct, and criticism of Freud's concept of death instinct follows for long. To understand this conflicting narrative, one must closely look at the second half of the book, where they put forth their argument against Freud. There, they speak of the model of death and the experience of death in contrast to the death instinct or the desire for death. The model of death is the body without organs with intensity 0. The body without organs is the model of death. Therefore, there is no death instinct, but just eternal return in which beings proceed from the model of death to the experience of death, and starting out again, return from the model to the experience. This is what schizophrenizing death is about. It is said that one can't experience his or her own death because everything's over once one dies. However, if you know that the death here is not a biological personal death, but the concept of impersonal death, the term the experience of death will not be difficult to understand, as the experience of death with intensity 0, as its model can be repeated many times and is the condition for the birth of a new machine. The experience of death is rather the past of the desiring machine. If so, how do you understand the above-mentioned description of the death instinct? According to Deleuze-Guattari, instinct is not the innate tendency, but the product of the condition that determines the production and anti-production of desire. In a society where the social codes such as status are firmly established, like primitive society or even autocratic society, the desiring machine must conform to those codes. In this case, the death instinct or the desire for death is weakened. This is because one accepts the established status or law as the unalterable fate. On the contrary, the social codes such as status are destructed, and so the producer, who used to exist as an appendage of the land, is separated from the land and deterritorialized. In this sense, capitalism is a decoded and deterritorialized social machine. This means that the desire is free from the social code or the obligation of cultivating the land. Marx describes this as double freedom, which in fact means one became a proletariat who lost one's survival condition. Now, one becomes to do anything, but one is thrown into a situation where one can't do anything. Therefore, one has to sell one's body to make a living. One has to go to the factory. Whenever one goes to the factory, one has to become the organ machine, which the capitalist requires one to become. As the desire becomes free, because there is no established code, anyone can resist such a requirement, not accepting it as a fate. However, because one can't do what one wants to do without being hired, one can't be converted into another machine, only with the desire itself. Therefore, that resistance leads to the desire to deny all the organs and to the desire for death. This is how the death instinct appears. In the decoded system of capitalism, death becomes an instinct, losing its relationship to the model or experience. In short, the death instinct is the product of the capitalist machine. If so, can it be said that in capitalism, the death instinct has a kind of universality? It wouldn't be the case. Of course, like fascism, there appears the desire that learns to tour death with a passion or disgust against the existing world. But this kind of phenomenon appears under a particular condition even in capitalism, so they don't use concepts like death instinct or death impulse. Even when talking about fascism and death in 1,000 places, we are not invoking any kind of death drive. There are no internal drives in desire, only assemblages. The empty body without organs is the body that erases its organs like the body of a drug addict. The cancerous body without organs is a suicidal body that leads the organism itself to death, loathing the fate of becoming organs in the organism. This is even worse and more dangerous. In the social machine, fascism belongs to this. The full body without organs is a body in process that keeps constructing a new body by carefully experimenting toward various determinabilities. It is a creative and positive body that keeps creating a new machine by repeatedly passing through the state of intensity zero. To bother to link this to the concepts in Anti-Oedipus, the former two are the machinic forms of the death instinct, whereas the full body without organs is a repeated conversion of the desiring machine and eternal return of the death model and the experience of death. The conflicting description of the death instinct, in fact, is related to two conflicting directions implicated in the concept of the body without organs. This is because the body without organs is a position in between organism and pure virtuality, between the fate of being stratified and the sky of determinability that the plane of consistency is. What's important here is not the exclusive choice between this and that, rather, as is the case with the model and experience of death, important thing is the smooth coming and going between the two. The risk of negative repression against the organism or the destruction of organ is, in fact, more dangerous than the organism. The worst that can happen is if through the strata into demented or suicidal collapse, which bring them back down on us, heavier than ever. Lodge yourself on a stratum. Experiment with the opportunities it offers. Find an advantageous place on it. Find potential movements of deterritorialization.